Hey everyone, this is Ron Fitch, and this is Tell the Truth Sports Radio. And I'm going to tell you the truth about the two big games in the NFL. Then I'll give you the NFL landscape and I'll break down the Philadelphia Washington game. But my first segment, I'm just going to talk about the two big games Buffalo, Minnesota, and Dallas, Green Bay. Buffalo, Minnesota. Buffalo's up 17-7. And they're kind of dominating the game. Vikings get a field goal. And then before the half, Josh Allen throws a dime to Gabe Davis. Now, Cousins is doing what Cousins does on the road. He threw a couple bad picks. It's 24-10. It's 27-10. 27-10. And when it's 27, is one of the big, there's a lot of big plays. One of the big plays. Dalvin Cook rushed for an 81-yard touchdown. Flew right through the secondary. And Buffalo has a makeshift secondary because of the injuries, and that's really costing them. So it's 27-17. And the Vikings have momentum. Okay. The Bills come right back down the field. And Josh Allen is poised. They're at the 8-yard line. Those a bad pick. That the hero, one of the big heroes of the game, other than Jefferson, is Patrick Peterson, who has a big interception. And he returns it, and it gives them good field possession, and the Vikings go right down the field. C.J. Ham, nice play call, too. For up the middle for a 3-yard touchdown, and Kirk Cousins was making it happen. And I will say this, when he's in the pocket and he has time and he gets set, he does throw good passes. When he's a little flustered, that's when he throws some ridiculously bad interceptions, or he gets out of the pocket. Sometimes he does that. He didn't do that after the first half. And they missed the point after. Oh, yeah. So the Vikings, I'm thinking they're going to find some type of way to lose this game. But they get the ball back. And they're driving, and Kirk Cousins, and they make, and what I see, and people are talking about the catch, the great catch by Jefferson. I mean, my goodness, you want to talk about, Justin Jefferson, whether he's in high school, whether he's in LSU or the Minnesota, I don't know if he'll ever make a better catch than what I saw. That was on 4th and 17, and the poor cornerback, he's going for the interception. He has the ball in his hands. Jefferson has the one hand. He takes it, and I don't think the cornerback anticipated Jefferson taking the ball with his right hand, snatching it and corralling it and holding on, falling sideways and able to hold on to the ball for the first down. And that set up opportunity for them to score. And I feel bad for the cornerback because he said he was the reason they lost the game. Yeah, he could have knocked it down. He wasn't the reason they lost the game. Josh Allen was the reason they lost the game. I'll get to him because he had threw a bad interception. Now they get a stop on 4th and inches. It looked like Cousins did score. It was tough to call. If they called it a touchdown, they'd have kept it. If they say they got stopped, they would have kept it. It was hard to overturn it either way. Buffalo gets the ball, and they're going to run the clock out. No. I think Josh Allen pulls his hands out too quick on the snap, fumbles the snap, Vikings score, and you think it's over. And I remember telling my brother, 49 seconds left. I know this is terrible what Josh Allen did, and it was a little bit of Joe Pistarczyk, not as bad in 78 with the Giants and Eagles, but it was bad. And the Vikings recover a touchdown. Yep, 30-27. I'm thinking that's too much time, though. If he can collect himself, they get down the field, and they got down the field in a hurry. They could have scored a touchdown. They ran out of time. They had 5 seconds left. If they had 7 seconds left, they'd have threw it in the end zone the way the Vikings were reeling, but they had to kick a field goal. And then the Vikings get the ball, and they're driving. And Cousins is making some great plays. Get to the goal line. He throws a terrific pass to Justin Jefferson, but they can't score. And they have to kick a field goal. Okay. You know what I'm thinking? Buffalo's going to win this game. They got this game, and lo and behold, the Buffalo Bills go right down the field. And Josh Allen is got the ball. It's at the 20-yard line, Minnesota. at a 2nd and 10. You could throw a short pass, set up a nice third down because it was a nice play by the corner on 1st down and 10 to stop the touchdown. But my goodness, you cannot throw that ball that he threw down the middle, and he kind of double clutch. And Patrick Peterson was a hero again. So I'm gonna give you my observations. Buffalo has to tighten up their run D. Their secondary's a bit of a mess without their top safety and their corner out. So you got a rookie from Buffalo State in there. He was the one that couldn't secure the interception, and he blamed himself for not knocking it down. You know what, though? I can't. That was just Josh Allen. The mistakes he made, 27-17, they could have kicked the field goal, made it 30-17. But if not, if he's not open, don't make that play. And it was just, and this is the second week in a row. He has 6 interceptions in 2 weeks. And the Jets kind of punked the Bills. The Vikings didn't do that, but the Vikings, they deserve. It was good that the Vikings won because even though Buffalo could have stole that game, the Vikings deserved to win. The way they kind of took that game from Buffalo and the way Cousins played, and Cousins was clean after the first half mistakes he made, and he was good. I'm gonna give you some observations about the Bills. The run defense was bad. There's a lot of now the Vikings got a lot of baggage all time with the Super Bowls and Anderson missed kick where they could have won Super Bowl 98. He never missed a kick. All he misses the one kick that got him to the Super Bowl. There's so many the miraculous catch. No, actually, it beat the Saints in that game. But it's been one situation after the other. But the Bills are worse. The Bills have been right to the Super Bowl and been right there with a chance to win it, and they didn't. 4 times they got to the Super Bowl, and the other 3 times they got trounced. The first time they could have beat the Giants, and they lost all 4. The Tennessee Miracle in Nashville, and where the Titans with the lateral touchdown return on a kickoff. And then last year's disastrous 16 seconds where all you got to do is hold them after Josh Allen played one of the greatest quarterbacking jobs I've ever seen in the playoffs. And Mahomes was that much better because he led his team down the field with 16 seconds left to get a game-winning field goal, which is utterly ridiculous. And then the one time where you see the cheetah, Tyreek Hill, giving them the deuces, and that, I'll say, okay, they're on a mission to come back. But the baggage is there, and there's pressure. And they got a little tight in that second half. And I did hear a pundit say that. They got tight. And do you recover from this? Okay, you lost the Jets. Jets were better. You fumble a snap when the game is over. The Vikings score. You come all the way back, and you recover from that disaster. And you let the Vikings go all the way down the field. But you recover from that disaster, and they kick a field goal. You're driving down to recover from all your disasters, and you got home field and everything, and he throws an interception. And now you got to worry about his psyche. The coach has got to work on him. I wonder if the Brian Daboll not being there, because he's even more reckless. I'm wondering if Brian Daboll not being there has affected Josh Allen. I just wonder that he was that calming influence that kept him level, not trying to be Superman. And in Buffalo, he's running too much. They could have ran Singletary when they were up 27-17, headed toward the goal line for a score. Now you run Singletary. He was running wild in the first half. Now you can play action. Now you got a little more room to throw a touchdown and make it 34-17. The game's over, and the Vikings probably would have just packed it in. But that's a horrible loss. Horrible loss. And now they have 3 losses. And now you have to come back and beat the Browns, which I do believe they're at home, because the schedule gets tougher with the Lions at home on Thanksgiving. The Lions are starting to play better. And then you have the Jets and Dolphins in your place, which is important. Because if you don't win the division, you might have to go to South Beach in the heat in January. Or you might have to go to the Meadowlands, which is with the rabid fan base, and the Meadowlands is just, and that Jet defense, it kind of shook Buffalo. But on the flip side, if you have to go to Buffalo, that's an advantage for Buffalo if they could kind of figure it out. They're 2-10, I believe, in close games in these past 2 years. From now to the end of the year, they're going to have to win these close games because I see it. I get the blow. I see them when steamroll teams, but when it gets tight, they get tight, and they got to correct that. Now, Green Bay and Dallas. Okay, I mean, I thought Dallas was going to steamroll, and I shouldn't have thought that because Dallas had a chance to go up 14-0, bad pick, and Rodgers dime throws a dime to Christian Watson, who had a Steph Curry kind of game. And then after that, the Packers come back and they go up 14-7. Dallas has a fantastic drive toward the end of the half. They tie the score. And then Amir Rodgers fumbles. So he's fumbling like crazy on Green Bay's punt return. He didn't go back in the game. But that flipped the entire game. Green Bay had momentum, and the Cowboys came right back down. CeeDee Lamb with a tough catch in the red zone. Then they came back down, another tough catch for CeeDee Lamb for a touchdown. And I'm thinking, okay, that's game. Dallas up 14. That defense is going to play downhill. But Green Bay ran the ball down Dallas' throat. And they stayed with the run game in the fourth quarter, down 2 scores. And they made it happen. And they got a big fourth down. And this was really, really big. On fourth down, Aaron Rodgers throws a 39-yard. It was 4th and 7. Aaron Rodgers doesn't throw a 7-yard pass. He throws it right down the middle for Watson, who was burning that Dallas secondary all game long. Touchdown, 28-21. Now the problem is the fans are in it. Now Dallas had a chance to put them away. They couldn't. They couldn't get that stop they needed to win the game. And they shut the Cowboys down. They get the ball right back. And here comes Aaron Rodgers, touchdown. Dallas is just going nowhere right now. And then Green Bay had a chance to put them away, but they didn't get a third and short, and Rodgers was heated because he thought that was their chance. But no, Cowboys drive down the field, penalty, and then their rookie receivers way offside. And then it was a pass interference play. They could have gotten the first down on CeeDee Lamb, but nevertheless, 4th and 4, they again convert, and Green Bay drives down the field for the game-winning field goal. And Green Bay's much maligned offense and defense stepped up in the second half. But Aaron Rodgers is an all-time great player. I don't care if they're struggling or not. If you give an all-time great player whose team is down an inch, he's going to take a mile. And he did that. Aaron Rodgers was 224 yards, 3 TDs. Aaron Jones, 24 attempts, 138 yards. Now, Pollard had 115. He ran well. But Green Bay gashed Dallas, and I was surprised. Dallas has been good on the run, good on the pass. They've been a good defense, but they got tore up from the second quarter on. They got tore up by the Green Bay offense. So I was very, 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 very impressed with the Packers. And now that could springboard the Packers. Like the Buffalo loss could mess Buffalo up. This win could springboard the Packers because just the way they responded after they won, and they got a chance. They have a chance. And when I come back, I'm going to talk about the entire NFL. I'm going to talk about the Eagle game, and then I'm going to talk about the rest of the NFL. Okay, the Eagles have finally lost. They lost to the Washington football team, 32-21. And you know how you sum this game up? Washington wanted it more. And they got every break they could, not from officials because there were bad calls on both sides of the ball, but it was just that they made their own breaks. They ran the ball well. They ran the ball 49 times to the Eagles 20. And you look at time of possession don't always tell the story, but in this game it did because the Washington team ran the ball and they had the ball for 40 minutes and the Eagles had it for 19. And after the Eagles scored the first touchdown, we're good. They're going to win. But then Gibson, who played really well, scored. Then Hurts came back, gave him the lead. But then Washington came right back in the second quarter. So Washington was just letting you know we're not going anywhere. And then this was the biggest drive of the game that gave them the lead. Well, Robinson rushed up the middle for a 1-yard touchdown. It was a long drive. They capped it off with a touchdown. And then they stop them and they have just enough time to kick a 58. And that kid, Joey Sly, kicked the ball, and it was 20-14, 58-yard field goal. So they're feeling good at the half. Then they get the ball back and go right down the field for a field goal. Now they got a 2-possession lead. Now the pressure's on an undefeated team. When Hurts in the fourth quarter, Philadelphia finally kind of made it happen, and they were running and passing the ball. Hurts throws the ball to Devontae Smith, his college teammate. Touchdown. Okay, Eagles. And they get a stop. Okay, the Eagles are going to be okay. But then the fumble. No, actually, the fumble by Goddard, it could have been a face mask. They ended up getting a field goal out of it, but the Eagles get the ball. They get a bomb pass play. And it looks like they're going to go in for a touchdown. And Washington gets a strip as he's getting up off the ground. As Watkins is getting up off the ground, and he gets stripped. And it's funny because he got behind the defender. Hurst threw the ball. It was a good pass. It may be a perfect pass he could catch in stride right in, but he gets up and he runs. He tries to switch hands, and when he switched hands, the defender was able to hustle, and they were hustling all day long. Washington get the strip, and then that quelches the last drive, and they got a touchdown on the last second, but they wanted it more. They were just, when they got that strip, if you see the sideline of Washington, they went crazy. They were, even on kickoffs, they were nailing the Eagle kickoff returners, and they were Del Rio on defense, and then Rivera as a coach. They did a fantastic job. And Washington's a player in this now. They are in the thick of things. If you look at the playoff picture between the Giants and Dallas, Giants are 7-2, Dallas 6-3, Niners are 5-4, Washington's 5-5. They're in it. Green Bay's in it. These are the teams that are. I think the cutoff line for me is Green Bay, Washington, Frisco, Dallas, Giants. I think the Giants are going to be fine. The Cowboys got to be careful because they lose to Minnesota 6-4. And then the Niners are not going to lose a lot of games. And I'm going to tell you something. The Niners beat the Chargers 22-16. The Chargers were dominating the game, but they're kicking field goals. And I got a friend who's a coach. He says you can't be out there playing soccer when you're going because it's a good team. Because threes and threes and threes is good, but you want touchdowns. And eventually the Niners and the Chargers they're a good team, but they're shorthanded. They're missing their receivers. They're missing Bosa. And the Niners had Bosa. They had their Bosa. And he wreaked havoc. Even when he would get to the quarterback, other guys got to the quarterback. And when it was one-on-one, he beat his defender badly and got to the quarterback. And it wasn't the sacks, but it was the hurries and the pressures of Herbert. Because if you give Herbert time, he'd have beat the Niners by himself. And Herbert's at such a high level that he drags a team that isn't on his level and gives them a chance. And it gave him a puncher's chance. But in the second half, the Niners just, Mitchell and McCaffrey, and then they go to Usyk, then they go to Kittles, and then they go to Jennings, and then they go to Even McLeod had a pass. Deebo Samuel's running the ball. He's catching the ball. It's an embarrassment of riches. And they're loaded on offense. They're loaded on defense. The only thing that concerns me is this is the kind of game I thought the Niners would come out with their talent and just bludgeon the short-handed Chargers at home, but they didn't. And if the Chargers had a couple of more pieces, they'd have pulled off the upset and beat the Niners. The Niners would be, in trouble. That's the one thing that concerns me because Garoppolo, I have a don't trust list. Garoppolo's on my don't trust list. He's a good quarterback, but I don't trust him. Cousins is a good quarterback, but I don't trust him. Now, Josh Allen, is great a talent as he is, I'm close to putting him on the don't trust list. He's got some more weeks, but he's on that street headed toward the don't trust lane. But they're so good, it might not matter. They might be just so good that in spite of Garoppolo being mistake prone, they go far in the playoffs. They can get to the end. I can see him in the NFC Championship in Philadelphia. Dallas is just I don't trust them as a team because they always tease you to the point, wow, this team goes Super Bowl. Then they're like, they did it again. This last 20 some odd years, they've been good, but they just can't win those games that they really need to win in the regular season and the playoffs. You're like, if they don't make a mistake here, if Dak doesn't throw a pick here, and Dak is on my don't trust list too. He's on that list too. I'm watching the game and I said, with my brother-in-law who loves Dallas, and I'm like, do you think Cooper Rush would have made that same mistake? He doesn't have the arm that Dak does, but he doesn't make the kind of mistakes Dak does. Now, if you look at the overall landscape with the NFL, Miami they destroyed the Browns 39-17, and they are coming. And you don't want to be in South Beach when you're playing in the cold all year long. You got to go to the South Beach. It could be 80, and Miami's used to that. And you're needing IV, and you're cramping up. You haven't cramped up since the summertime. That's a huge advantage. And the old Miami teams used to have that. I can see Miami and Kansas City playing in AFC Championship, old school 1970 Christmas Day classic matchup. I don't trust Tannehill. Tannehill's on that list because Tennessee's got a Kansas City and the Niners have two of the best defensive teams in the league, but I don't trust Tannehill. And Lamar Jackson, I don't want to put him on the don't trust list, but him and Josh Allen are in that. I think they're fantastic talented players, but they have to do it when it matters in the postseason and not make the mistakes that they've made, but they're young. So I'm not going to put them in the don't trust zone yet, but they're right there. And the Jets have a fantastic defense too. And the Jets and Patriot matchup is going to tell me a lot about both teams. That lets me know going forward. And the Chargers, this could be the last game the Chiefs lose all year at the Chargers. That could be a upset alert because they're going to wax the Rams. I think they're going to go to Cincinnati and take care of business and beat Denver, beat Houston, beat Seattle, beat Denver again, and beat Vegas. I think this is the one game that if you see them lose, it could be this because it could be one of those games the Chargers and Herbert play over their head on Sunday night. All right, college football. Every chalk kind of hell, the Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, TCU. I thought Texas could get them, but they held on to beat Texas and Tennessee. But Oregon got beat by Washington, so Oregon drops. UCLA will move up. But if Oregon beats USC, or UCLA beats USC, I think the Pac-12 is going to be gone from playoff contention. Oregon was their only hope. And then Alabama and LSU will probably move up. And then you have Tennessee. Really, it's the teams. Alabama's a fake chance, but you're looking at the playoff chances are LSU, Tennessee, TCU. But TCU has to. I think I was underwhelmed by TCU. The defense was solid. Their offense didn't impress me, and Texas was a mess. Texas, they always figure out a way not. And Ewers was just bad. And Texas had multiple chances to win that game. Baylor could give them trouble. I could see them not. I don't think they're going to make it. They could. I think TCU is going to be gone. I think with your top teams in the country that I look at are viable: Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, Tennessee, and Alabama. Even though Alabama, Ole Miss, I thought, but Lane Kiffin had a bad day. Now I'll get to that. I'll get to the LSU game first because they punched their ticket to the SEC championship. I was very underwhelmed by LSU. Their defense was great because of how great their linebacking play was. And Arkansas didn't have C.J. Henderson. Their quarterbacking was putrid. They got one drive, and LSU had one drive to finish the game off. It was an ugly game. But LSU, they forced a fumble in the final drive with a minute left, and they were able to hold on 13-10. They're not. Georgia's going to destroy them. I'm not. They're a benefactor of Alabama's buffoonery in that game when they played them. And Alabama underachieving in that game. Against Tennessee, that was just a great back and forth game, and Alabama running back drops the ball, which would have won the game on third down, and then Tennessee came right back down and got a field goal to win it. So Alabama has a fake chance because they had two tough road games that they lost in the last minute, last seconds, but they need help from TCU, which they probably will get. But it could be Michigan, Ohio State, Georgia. The Ohio State-Michigan loser is going to hope to still be in it. And it just depends on what the committee chooses. Tennessee should be okay if they win out. They got at South Carolina. They should win that. At Vanderbilt, that could be interesting. If they don't slip up, they're okay. If they do, that opens the door for Alabama and anybody in the Pac-12. But I think somebody's going to get clipped in the Pac-12 too. Tennessee should take care of business, and then the committee's got to. I think what it could come down to if Alabama takes care of a feisty Auburn, even though it's going to be in Alabama, Auburn's playing better. It's going to come down to what the committee thinks, who they think is more deserving between the Michigan-Ohio State loser and Alabama, because I think Tennessee and Georgia are going to get in because Georgia's going to crush LSU. So you have those Tennessee because they only got beat by Georgia. The committee will probably reward them. They have a good enough resume. Who gets rewarded? The Michigan loser, Michigan-Ohio State loser, or Alabama? And that's what I think it'll come down to, unless USC steps up. And then USC could get in. And then Michigan, Ohio State loser doesn't get in. So there lies college football. And I also want to talk about the Ole Miss could have got in. Ole Miss had an opportunity. That had been a better game against Georgia, but Lane Kiffin just wouldn't make the plays. They didn't score a point in the fourth quarter because the play calling was just questionable. And Alabama's defense did step up for once. But like I said, just look out for that. If everything kind of goes its way, if TCU wins out, forget what I said. But if they don't, look for the Ohio State-Michigan loser and Alabama or Tennessee to have a chance to get in.